this is a lot different than what we're usually doing, Frank. So if it is, and also if anyone's watching as well or listening, obviously we put it on YouTube, so this will be a bit weird that it's on YouTube like this. And if anyone's listening as well, if there's a little bit of like feedback, then apologies, but blame that cunt that ate a bat in Wuhan, not us. So.
Oh, swearing. Is this a sweary podcast?
Yeah, you can swear if you want,
yeah, you can swear if you want. Yeah, of course you can.
Just don't swear for the sake of swearing like Tom does. He got mate, we should start the podcast off by Tom's just asked me then why you called, why have you got two names, you know, as Frank and also Lee, so just let's get that out the way.
Well, actually, you're the unusual one, as you're one of the few bootlegs who are called by their actual name. I think there's like a law that when you join up, you will be given another name. And I actually hate explaining this because it's like always started with, in the 1970s, there was a sitcom called Some Mothers Do Have 'Em, and Frank Spencer was the main character. So I joined up as Lee Spencer and passed out as Frank Spencer, and I've been known as Frank ever since. I'll be in a conversation with my wife, who's known me before I joined up, and you know, people who've known me as Lee, and people in the core and since calling me Frank. So some, you know, in the same conversation, one person's calling me Lee, one person's calling me Frank, and I won't even be aware that that's happening. I'm that used to it.
Well, I'd rather have been called by a separate name than the Beekeeper's Apprentice, which what I got called because of my acne as a kid. So I'd rather have had that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So for those of you for those who are watching on, who are listening, sorry, you've got a T-shirt on saying the Rowan Marine, and that's kind of one of the main reasons I wanted to speak to you. You're a bit of a legend in that circle, but we kind of know each other from our careers in the Marines, although we didn't serve together when we were both injured. Obviously, I was injured in Afghanistan. Yours was a bit different, but obviously how long had you done in the Corps?
I'd done just about 2 months short of me 22 when I got injured. 22 years. So a normal Royal Marines career is 22 years. And I was about 2 months short of that when I got injured. Yeah, I'd done 3 Afghans. I'd done a tour of Iraq as well. I was in the initial invasion of Iraq. Excuse me. And then way back in the day of Northern Ireland as well.
It's so interesting, mate, when you think about your scenario, because I remember being, and rightly or wrongly, I think there is a good debate to be had, but it's when all these military charities started, it was a kind of who deserves to be kind of getting the help, if you like. So it's like someone who's maybe, you know, has maybe got cancer or was involved in an RTA or was sick, you know, do they deserve the funding of like a military charity? And you could think, or compared to someone who's been blown up in Afghanistan or something. But then when you hear you know, your story, which we'll hear about, was an RTA, but yeah, you've done 22 years more or less. You'd served all over the world. It's like it's a funny one, isn't it?
It is, and I definitely benefited because I came, like my injury was at the end, came towards the end of all the Afghan injuries, or towards the end. So I benefited from all the advances, and by then the MOD had got its act together, and we wanted for nothing as a family. We wanted for nothing.
So it should be.
Yeah, but it wasn't like that at the start. I've got a good friend, Neil, who he rode the Atlantic.
Neil Heritage.
Yeah, we both know him. Yeah, he was blown up in Iraq before the Armed Forces Compensation Scheme came in, and him along with a load of guys that were injured in Northern Ireland, go back as far as the Falklands. You know, people that we know. Were injured and had their careers and lives shattered and got nothing. It took the amount of people that were getting injured and killed in Afghanistan for society to change. We've both been out to America and seen the difference, how Americans view their service per people and how well they're treated. But you've got to remember, you go back 20 years, 30 years, and they were getting spat at.
Do you, sorry, Frank, I presume you consider yourself like unbelievably lucky that you've been able to go through all those different tours, and then the actual time when you did have an accident was through a car accident, or an RTA.
Lucky. Yeah, I do actually. Yeah, but the reason I was shocked by your question, because most people, when I tell them that I've done 3 tours of Afghan and got injured, I lost my leg on the side of a road, they kind of see it as like a bit of irony, like, oh no, that's terrible, you've done all that. And but I, again, lucky. If the same thing had happened to me with the same training, but having not gone to Afghanistan, done the 3 tours of Afghan, I wouldn't be here now. It was the tours in Afghan that absolutely reinforced. Like, I knew if you're bleeding, you know you're going to bleed to death. Anyone who's had any modicum of medical training would know that you need a tourniquet. But having that reinforced by 3 tours, 18 months in Afghanistan, kind of made me react instantly. And I knew absolutely how I needed to get that tourniquet on right now. And if I came through this and I'm here by, the skin of my teeth, it was really close. It was a really close run thing. And if I hadn't reacted as quickly, I wouldn't be here now. And the only reason I reacted as quickly is because I went to Afghanistan. So yeah, I was lucky, very, very lucky. It was a combination of a lot of things that came together. That,
before your accident, Frank,
now,
what were you looking? You said you had 2 months left of your kind of time in the Corps. What were your aspirations to do after leaving the Corps?
I was 2 months off my 22 years, which is the end of your career. But actually, a month or 2 months before that, I bottled going outside, and I put in a free. I was put in a 3-year extension. I volunteered about 10 years before I went outside. I volunteered for something called special duties, and I've got to be very careful because a lot of people hear special and they think special forces, which is the SAS or SBS or special reconnaissance regiment, SRR, which used to be 14 Intelligence Company. I failed selection actually for the SBS years and years ago. But special duties is what it is. It's something separate to that. It's kind of like special forces for slightly fatter older people, I suppose. And I was overqualified in both. So I had a very peculiar job, and they were desperate for people. So actually, when I put my 3-year extension in, I held all the cards. So I went back to work and said, look, if I put a 3-year extension in, what will you offer me? And I had to pick of jobs. So I look back. So you question what was my aspirations of going outside. There was a company that, and still does, employed the people that done my job. And I think it was $250,000 on a 2-year contract, tax-free, working abroad.
Jeez.
I'm completely behind the wire in a training role. So it was, I bought me married quarter, and I was going to go away for 2 years, pay off the mortgage, come back, and then me and my wife were going to sit down and think, right, what do we do now? And with an aspiration to perhaps doing it again for another 2 years, buying a house and renting it out, and that with my pension kind of pays all the bills, and then you're working for lifestyle. So that was half the aspiration. And we sat down, obviously me and my wife sat down and talked about it. That job wasn't going anywhere, and I still think it's there. But the jobs that were available to do for me in service, they were like the things you dreamed of when you was a kid. When you dreamed of being a bootneck, they were like, stuff that you wouldn't even believe was available for you. And I thought, I can't go outside and not do these. So when this happened, and we'll probably talk about this later on, a lot of people say, oh, I bet you look at, your life now and you think, your life's better than what it would have been. It ain't, because the job I was doing was the job I dreamed of since I was a kid. And I almost got to do it. I was driving back to work after Christmas leave when this happened, when my leg fell off. And I was going back. I'd gone from I was on a secondment to I was on secondment to civilians. So I was working with civvies, and I was going back to work abroad with them and train up and do a job abroad. And my mate, Andy, another Andy, he got pinged to do that. And after he'd been away and came back and he told me the stuff that he was doing, I was like, I almost got to do it.
It's so interesting you're saying that, though, because for me personally, I'm almost grateful for what happened, because I know my life now is better than if I hadn't got blown up. So you're one of the only blokes I've spoke to. I'm sure there's a few more out there, but I actually kind of think that you might have had just as good of a life, if you like.
Takeaway, I've got, because of this, I'm financially secure, which is what we all struggle to achieve, isn't it? From our background, Andy, and I assume we come, well, I know, because I've read your book, we come from the same sort of background. You start life with the goal of being financially secure. And this has given me that. But I would absolutely, in a heartbeat, go back.
Really? Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, to my old life, because of what I was doing.
I didn't expect you to say that.
Yeah. And I briefly think about that. I don't dwell on it at all, not as a coping mechanism, just because it's pointless, because you can't change what's happened. So I don't get upset about it. I'm not maudlin that this has happened, because it's pointless. You can't change what's happened. It's a fact. So you try to make the best out of what you've got. And I think anyone who's had a look like yourself, who's been part of my life in the last couple of years, I've got nothing to moan about anyway. But it's not what I wanted to do.
Yeah. So coming to that day then, when again, you've got this dream job in the Marines you're looking forward to. Tell us, what happened that turned your world upside down.
Yeah. Before I do, I'll kind of to put it in context what I've just said. I grew up, and I still massively struggle with self-belief and the way you look at yourself. I've always had a massive issue with that. I know everyone does. I'm trying to think of the word. It's
like self-confidence, or
no, not self-confidence, self-esteem.
Self-esteem, yeah.
Yeah, self-esteem. And I know everybody, every person that I've ever spoken to and got to know has self-esteem issues, and I've never come across anyone who actually knows how great they really are. Deep down, I mean, I've got, there's obviously a lot of people that you think have got an overblown opinion of themselves. when you talk to them and they're stood in front of a mirror looking at themselves, I think it's part of the human condition. but my case of that was particularly bad. And the job that I had, I finally, even joining the Corps, and that's the thing about joining the Corps, because all of a sudden, I don't know about you, Andy, but like once you pass out of training, you are like the top dog. You pass Royal Marines training, and you get thrown in an environment where you are the lowliest scumbag ever. And you look at all these people around you. And that's the thing about the Royal Marines. The downside to being a bootneck is your day-to-day life. You're surrounded by incredible individuals. And this is a case in point, because Andy Bootneck is my mate. Do you know what I mean? You know, he's got the world record for running 10,000 metres faster than anyone in the whole world with one leg. And those sort of people you're surrounded with. Yeah. And it was only when I got to that point in my job where I could look myself in the mirror and be really happy with a person I saw staring back. And it took a long time to get there.
So interesting you say that, and you said it really well, because again, maybe when you're at home and you're in City Street, you maybe are the top dog, but then again, when you come back to the Marines and you are surrounded by all these blokes who are running crazy times, fit as a fiddle, really switched on, great at the job.
I always think the only thing, or the best thing you can you can strive to achieve, is to be an average bootneck. If you get there and you can look yourself in the mirror and go, do you know what? I'm an average bootneck. That's like, you've made it.
It's like that in the injured kind of world as well. I mean, that's how we became friends. And you find yourself being injured, and you've got two options. I guess you can sit around and you can feel sorry for yourself because you're now disabled, or you look around at all your old Marine mates and military mates, and they're off climbing mountains, rowing oceans, breaking records, and you're like, I can't even be a normal disabled person now. I need to kind of raise my game again.
Well, that's funny enough. You know Carl Royce, who we both know. He's a Pongo, so he was in the army. He's in the Royal Mess Tin Cleaning Regiment of Foot and Mouth Army. An awful army regiment. But he's by first admission at Headley Court, which is where you do all your rehabilitation. So I was still in a wheelchair, didn't have a leg. And he was in the bed opposite me. I was drugged off my tits as well. So the whole first part of that, my injury, is kind of a bit of a blur. And he was in the hospital bed next to me, in the bed at Headley Court. And I say hospital bed because they're very much like hospital wards, the beds there. And we got chatting, and he'd just come back from rowing the Atlantic. And I looked at him, I was like, you know, this kind of adventure and everything is still a thing. I can still, and that's the first inkling that I got that, you know, things like that were still possible.
This new world that you were in, yeah.
Yeah, but you're right, and that, like, one of the charities that I've supported and I'm passionate about is the Endeavour Fund, and it was the Endeavour Fund that put the money up for them, Cal, to row the Atlantic. And also for me to row it a couple of years after. And the reason I'm passionate about it is because it gives servicemen, I think it's Prince Harry's own words, allows them, it gets servicemen and women to reconnect with their adventurous spirit. And it's not just reconnecting with their adventurous spirit, it's reconnecting with themselves. I lost myself when I got injured. I thought the person I was, that person who, after 22 years of strife and struggle, could finally look themselves in the mirror and be happy with the person staring back. I thought that person had gone, and I thought I'd have to redefine who I was, but as a disabled person. And I'd have to struggle to get to that point again. And it was rowing the Atlantic that made me realise that I was still the same person. And so it's not just giving you back that adventurous spirit, it's giving you back yourself. And there's nothing you know, a lot of charities, you know, they give stuff that people need, practical stuff. And we both know, Andy, guys like bootnecks who have got stuff from the Royal Marines charity that they need, them and their families need to survive. But for me, the Endeavour Fund gives you that thing, or gives servicemen and women back that thing that money can't buy. And that's that sense of self again. And
Frank,
yeah.
can I just ask? You know, obviously there's two people sat in front of me here. That one has been injured in a war zone, one hasn't. Do you feel ever since you've been injured, you took life by the balls a lot more than if you hadn't have got injured?
Yeah, in a way. And my life's changing again, as a lot of people's is, because of this, the coronavirus. And when I first got injured, I was going down one road, and I was going to go abroad, and I was going to work at the higher end of the security circuit abroad. And then that was all taken away from me. I'm not academic. I've got no qualifications, and there was no plan B for me. So I panicked, and I'd done an open university course and thought, right, I could be a teacher. I could do that. So I panicked and went into education. And then ever since then, I've been running at 2,000 miles an hour because of that thing. I suppose, Andy, when I was talking about our backgrounds, where you know, you strive to be financially secure. We haven't got that parachute. We've never had that parachute. And for me, providing for my family and putting a roof, you know, the practicalities of just putting a roof over my family's heads and putting food on the table. Because of that, I just ran 2,000 miles an hour into everything I'd done. And I kind of kept going. And because of this coronavirus, I've stopped, and we've all had to stop. And it's making me reconsider the way I was going, or, you know, how hard I was working. Actually, what I'm working for. Why am I, you know, thrashing myself? And I've been thrashing myself.
So interesting that you say that. Every time I see you, I'm like, what the fuck are you doing now? Like, you've always got something else going on. And obviously I was injured a bit before you, mate, and I could kind of see what you were doing, because I'd done it myself. You know, for the first couple of years, there was an opportunity to do this. I was like, yeah, I'll go here, do this, do all these things. And then you just slow down and you think, actually, you know what, and I could kind of see you, because you were kind of me just a few years later. And every time I seen you, you were doing something, and I'm like, mate, just fucking have a day off, just chill out, you know, be happy in what you've achieved so far. And I guess
it's like, because that life that I had and built up had gone, I had no plan B, and it's nothing more than the practicalities of you know, providing for your family, mate. And you know that there is no plan B. So that's, you know, I just ran at life, and I've been doing that. And then something came up, and it's about opportunities as well. When a door opens,
yeah, you'd be stupid not to jump on it.
Yeah, and that's
it's a balancing act, though. Definitely is a balancing act.
It is, and I'm kind of, because this coronavirus, it's made me. And I knew it was happening, but when you're doing something like, it's hard to actually stop. It takes something to actually make you stop and reassess. I was talking about this with my wife, Claire, the other morning, and we was talking about work, and because we're both in the same business now, aren't we? But we was talking about that, and it was like, we was talking about one of the things that, I think it was social media or something like that, because I'm rubbish at it. I could, I think, you know, read a book, do what people tell you, and then you can get okay at it. but I kind of like being rubbish at it. I like being that person. So it's a bit more.
I'd stick with being rubbish at it. You don't want to get involved in it.
I've already had about 10 arguments on Twitter this morning, mate. You
I
bet.
know, mate. I've watched you. Obviously, we follow each other. And I often think, oh, shall I comment? All right, no, I'm not getting into that shit.
Yeah.
But we were talking the other day, and we was talking about, and it was about social media. We think, how are we going to do this? How are we going to do that? And I said to Claire, right, before we get into this, I'm changing my mind on the way that we're doing everything. And why am I working so hard? Why are we working so hard when I've literally got everything I want? I've got the house of my dreams, Andy. I've got the family in my dreams, and I'm still married to the girl that I went out with at 16. What else is there?
That thing, I guess, when you were in the Marines, I guess, isn't it, of just wanting to always push yourself and always push it. And again, that's when I think sometimes you need to take a step back and think, you know what?
I was pushing through those doors because I was petrified of losing everything I had. I had a mortgage, and so I was pushing. And the reason I was pushing against those doors, those opportunities, was because of that. Those opportunities now, if they come up, this is a new thing for me. This is like literally evolving into changing the way we do things. I'm going to push against them because they're an opportunity to do something amazing, rather than an opportunity where I need to put food on the family's table. It's changed. This coronavirus is changing the way I'm viewing how I'm doing things. I think that's the thing. I've always tried. Like, things happen, and we talked about it earlier about when my leg fell off. That's happened. That's gone. There's no point even thinking about that because you can't change it. And it's about understanding what you can change and what you can't. And if you can change something, then they become opportunities. And it's trying to make the best out of your situation now. Because you can sit and moan, and you said about it, the two ways you can do things, Andy. You can sit and moan and go, oh, my life's terrible, so I'm now disabled. I was this, physically fit person who could do loads of things physically. Now I'm not. I can't. Or do you try to make the best out of what you've got? And I think that's what I'm doing now. I imagine with you, all of your paid speaking jobs are gone. All of mine are gone. But you're trying to make the best out of what you've got now, like being forced to stay in. So what do? You do all the things that you always wished you could do when you had a day off.
Yeah.
I went months since I got off the boat. I got off the boat, when was it? A year ago. In that year, up until this coronavirus nonsense, I've had less than 1 week off.
Yeah. That's why I kept on telling you need to slow down.
Is it weird then, if you've been going that hard, Frank? Is it weird then? How have you coped sort of now during this time? Then, if you've been made to stop, because I can imagine a lot of people, myself included, is you're so used to seeing people doing things, going out, etc. Then that during this time, it's
it was building up, so it was a relief. It was like the cork was going to burst out the top of the bottle. It was unsustainable what I was doing and how I was living. It was unsustainable. So actually, when this happened, it was kind of like,
Yeah. And also, there's not a pressure to then because you can't literally do anything. There's no pressure in the back of your mind going, because I've had this thinking, I need to be doing this, I need to be doing that. But when you actually can't, because, well, the government says you can't, then, there's a little bit less pressure on yourself. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and it makes you think, because you can't do those things, it makes you think, well, why was I going to do it anyway?
Mm.
Um, I'm not a car person. I don't want a flash car. I don't want to go on holiday, have a flash holiday. I don't want a flash watch. There's lots of, so you think, well, what do I actually want?
Yeah.
And I think it's like a massive, it's like someone's hit us as a country round the head with a big wet fish and gone, stop what you're doing.
Yeah.
Now think about the things that are important. And, like the NHS,
Mm.
all of a sudden people are like, oh yeah, that kind of matters now. And I think as a society, we've all had that massive whack round the face. And I think we're going to be, I am a stupidly optimistic person. And I mean stupid because I'm often bitten on the arse with my optimism. But I think on the other side of this, we're going to be a very, very, very different country. And for the better. I think for the better.
Mm.
Me and Tom spoke about this the other day, about the many positives that will come from this. And I do think there will be a lot.
Well,
Yeah.
despite Liverpool not winning the league, there's other.
Hey, we will win that league. Don't you get me started on that.
Yeah, it ain't going to be the same now, Andy, is it?
No, it won't be. It won't. And that is a shame. But no, I do think though that there will be loads of positives. And me and Tom spoke about it months ago. I said one of the happiest times I had recently was I took my little girl to school, and then I was walking the park, nice sunny day. I left my phone in the car, walking the dog, sat on a bench and read a book. And I was joking, said I was the happiest man on the planet at that time. Do you know what I mean? And it's just those simple things that I think this coronavirus is making everyone really appreciate.
Well, one of the like when I panicked, I thought, oh, what am I going to do for a living? I've done an OU course in sociology, and it was based around consumerism. That was what it was based around, and actually now we've all gone, I don't really need the latest phone. I don't need a watch. I don't need. There's lots of stuff I don't actually need, and I think, I think most forward-thinking economists know that capitalism is doomed to fail. It will fail, whether it's in 10 years, 50 years, 100 years. It can't keep going the way it is. And I think most people assumed it would evolve a little bit. And perhaps it will. But I think that's the thing about this whole thing that we're forced into. It's making everyone, every single person, really think about what matters.
Definitely.
And that's why I think it will be a definitely better place on the other side of it.
Yeah, I was having a chat to, so I'm 27, so really there's nothing been in my lifetime that has been, anything of considerable, like anything of this scale. The only thing, I haven't been to war, so I haven't done that. I mean, the only thing that's somewhat comparable is maybe 2008 when there was a recession there. But to be honest, I was 16, so, it didn't really have any impact. And so I think for people of my age, then, this is like the sort of defining, and it's
sort of Afghan, Tom.
Yeah. Yeah, to some extent.
I think the thing is with servicemen and women, it's the majority of us who have served, we've got that sense of belonging, national pride, and I think national pride's always seen in a bad light. I mean, the people on the left, they'll portray it as right-wing bigotism. Is bigotism a word?
Yeah.
That kind of, anyone who flies the cross of St George is labelled a racist, and people on the right, they think if you're not, patriotic, then you're a traitor, and I think that's our generation, and to a certain degree our parents' generation, because they've never served. And if you look at our grandparents' generation, they served, they gave up everything and came together as a nation. And you can see, I'm a firm believer in society. You can't do anything on your own. Nothing. Well, Andy ran round a track really fast. I rode across an ocean twice. We'd done that on our own, but we could not have done what we'd done without a vast army of people behind you, from sponsors to people practically who gave up, dropped everything, dropped their lives and came and helped me when I needed them, you know? And that's the thing, we're kind of realising that, you know, those selfish bastards who are sat on beaches now, we know now, the rest of us are looking at them and calling them selfish bastards because we know that our actions have consequences for others. And you can't live on your own. No one, you know, no man is an island. But
that's probably a perfect line though to go into, because what you're preaching there, it's not just you're preaching it because it sounds good. That's kind of how you've lived your life, because that's what got you in the position you're in now, by having that thing of, you know, we need to help one another. Because how you lost your leg, there might have been some people who wouldn't have stopped and helped.
When I explained, you asked me how I lost my leg. It almost seems like ages ago. We're working our way back there slowly, but and I'll explain the circumstances how I lost my leg. But when I do, I don't know a single person who would have carried on driving. It was kind of, I was driving home, back to work. Sorry. It was my home at the time, in Chicksands up in Bedfordshire, and I live in the West Country. So it's a fair old drive. It's about a 5-hour drive. And I was driving back after Christmas leave, and I was going back to start training to go and do this other job. And I came across, actually, I had a flat tyre. About half hour into my journey, I got a flat tyre in my van. And I pulled over like every bootneck. I've got a T4 camper van. So I pulled over and I changed my tyre, and I took a picture and put it on Facebook, and I put, could this journey get any worse? Jen, honestly. A couple of hours later, I was on the M3 just before it got to the M25, and I saw a car had crashed into the central reservation. There was hardly any traffic on the road. It was midnight on a Sunday night, and it was a horrible stormy night as well. And I pulled over, and someone else had pulled over as well before me. I got out of my car. And first thing I was thinking is, if there's anyone left in the car, then they're in mortal danger. And exactly like you, Andy, anyone who'd been to Iraq or Afghanistan, any serviceman, you're given like the best medical training available. So I would have counted myself as a very competent first aider. But everybody had got out the vehicle. It was three Polish people, actually. It was two guys and a very heavily pregnant woman. And they were okay, and there was no one in the car at the time. And a guy who had already pulled over, he was on the phone to emergency services. So I thought, right, emergency services have been called. They're all okay. There's no one left in the car. The only thing I can really do is to walk up the hard shoulder and use the torch on my phone to try and warn oncoming traffic. The hazard lights were on the car that had crashed anyway. And as I told the people, the three poles, that's what I was going to do. And as I turned, I heard a huge bang. And I almost simultaneously felt myself hit, like from the side. And I could hear screaming, loads of noise. And I probably got about 2 or 3 minutes worth of thinking. Or it could only have been a couple of seconds. And what had happened is the car that had crashed, another car came and hit it with such force that it span it 3 times, and the engine came flying out and went about 70, maybe 100 metres, and it hit me in between. So I was hit by a BMW 5 Series engine.
Jesus.
Obviously, Andy, as a bootneck, if I'd have tensed up, it would have bounced off me. I didn't see it coming. So that's what took my leg off. It actually, I went flying, and I probably went about 10, maybe 15 meters, knocked me over the barrier on the hard shoulder onto the grass verge on the other side. And I said I had about 2 or 3 minutes worth of thinking. So I kept trying to piece together what was happening. So I knew I was on the hard shoulder. I heard a bang, felt myself hit, so I assumed I'd been hit by a car or something. Thought like I'd been hit by a lorry, actually. And I kept telling myself, in a minute, all of this motion is going to stop. You've got to check yourself over. You've got to check yourself for injury. And it did. I was kneeling down, so my leg that isn't there was behind me, and I couldn't see it. And I kind of patted myself down and looked. But my left leg, if you imagine you're kneeling, instead of the leg going behind me, it was going off at an angle at the right, and it was a proper comedy tape. I looked at it and thought, now there's something not quite right with what I'm seeing, but I can't quite picture what it is. And it took a time, all right, oh yeah, I'm injured. And I kind of fell back down the grass verge, crawled back under the barrier onto the hard shoulder, and that's when I saw my right leg was gone. And my first thought was, fuck, my leg's gone.
So had your leg come off at the time?
It was hanging on by a bit of flesh, but I knew it had gone. I knew I didn't have a leg. And but I just thought, that ain't the important thing here. The important thing is I've got to stop the bleed. And right, very, very, very close to death, a Rastafarian called Frank turned up, and he tried to get a tourniquet on with his belt. We couldn't get that tight enough. And you know, I said I had a flat tyre, so I knew in my van my tyre wrench was there, like me, and I was going to use that as a windlass to try and get it as tight as we could. But if I'd have sent Frank to get, and my van was about 50 metres away, if I'd have sent Frank to get that and come back, I'd have been dead by the time he got back. So I got his daughter, Zanelli, to stand on my groin. So she kind of put her heel on my femoral artery, you know where your pulse is in your groin. And she stood with all her weight on it, and that stopped the blood. And then about 10 minutes after that, the bloke who first stopped and who was on the phone, he came up, and he was sorting other things out, kind of coordinating stuff. He came up and he said, is there anything I could do? And I looked at him and I thought, right, well, you're bigger and heavier than Zanelli. So I got her off and I got him to put his heel on me. He sort of like dug it in and stood on me, and we waited for the ambulance to come up. And actually, when the ambulance finally came, he was an ex-para, the paramedic. And he first thing he said was you in the forces? Because obviously he saw that, trying to get a tourniquet on. I was like, yeah. He goes, what are you? I said, I'm a bootneck. He said, you've got a para looking after you now. I'm like, well, I don't really care, mate. You can be whatever you want. But he was sort of packing me leg in together. And he says, they'll try and save that. And I looked at it and I went, they ain't saving that. There's no way on earth they're saving that. And he went, no, they work miracles. I went, the only miracle here is if they try and grow a leg back, like that's gone. But I'd lost over half my body's blood. And when I say I was like right on the knife edge, I really was. Really, really was.
That's fucking mental, that.
It is.
How life in it.
Were they pretty quick then to turn up, Frank?
No. Frank, I always thought it was about 20 minutes. Frank, the Rasta, he says it was about half hour. So we'll split the difference at 25 minutes. See, bootnecks can do maths.
And did it feel like half an hour? Did it feel like 2 hours?
No, it felt like forever. I knew I was dying. When I say like I felt on a knife edge, when I talk about this in my talks, I always feel, I'm going to use the word abyss, and I always feel guilty that people think that I'm over dramatising it by using that word, but it's genuinely, and I'm lucky I can, and I always have been, able to go back to that moment of injury in my mind and picture everything with no issues, really. Right from the moment it happened. I can't do it as well now because, you know, length of time, your memories fade. But genuinely, laying there, I could feel the abyss there. It was actually there, like a real tangible thing, and I knew absolutely. I'd counted all the classic symptoms of shock. Anyone listening to this, shock. You would have heard people go into shock. What that is, the medical term, shock, is where your body loses so much blood, it then packs what blood it's got left into your abdomen to keep your vital organs going. But it, you know, to do that, it takes it from the extremities. So you get pins and needles, then numbness in your fingers and feet and toes. And I was counting off all the classic symptoms of shock. So I knew my body was shutting down bit by bit. And the next stage was unconsciousness, then death. That's when I said about sending Frank back to get the windlass. I knew if I went unconscious, I'd die. I wouldn't wake up. I knew that. Knew that absolutely. So I knew, you know, without, you know, over dramatizing it, I knew that I was on the knife edge, really, absolutely on the knife edge. I still had my phone in my hand. You know, I said I was going to walk down the hard shoulder and use it to warn oncoming traffic. Had it in my hand, and I'd rung my wife because I was worried about my van. I said to her, I goes, I need help. I've been in an accident. And she, like, because I was talking to her, she thought, like, all right, he's at an accident, but he's okay. And she went, well, what? I said, well, I need someone to come and get me van. And then I said, look, I've got to go. And I put the phone down. So obviously I had other things to deal with. And I rang her back. I said, look, you need to get help. And she went, what? I said, you need, because I knew what was going to happen. I knew that I was, you know, I knew exactly what was going to happen, that I was going to go to hospital and I would, you know, I'm going to be, I knew I was in shit state. And I knew she was going to get a knock on the door from, I don't know, a policeman or something like that later on or early in the morning. So I was warning her off and saying, look, and she put the phone down to me and rang up my mate. He was one of my corporals when I was up at Faz Lane, and we just stayed really, really good friends. PTI called Nick Bondy. She rang him up, and this was about 12:30. And he just went, yeah, put his trousers on, drove around, picked her up and drove her to London. So she was at the hospital bed when she was there. I think just after I got there. But I knew on that knife edge, I had my phone, and I knew if I rang to say goodbye, you know, because I knew that I knew exactly what was happening. If I'd have said goodbye, I wouldn't be in now. It was that close, mate. And I don't know, it would have been like admitting defeat in a way. So it makes sense.
To yourself, yeah.
Yeah.
It's fascinating how obviously you were waiting there half an hour. I'm fascinated by that time period during the, you know, from how people can cope. Like Andy, I think you were about 40 minutes, weren't you, or 45 minutes, something like that. During that, it just must be the most mental time of like trying to calm yourself down. And then you've got other people in the mix as well who, you know, if they looked at your leg, you can see the panic off them. And then you're trying to calm yourself, you know.
No one, they could see me leg and they could see it was a mess, but no one really got how bad it was, because no one understands that the most, with CABC, you hammered it. CABC, it's first aid. So catastrophic bleed, airway, breathing, circulation. Yeah, that's what you're taught. And I knew that because the first thing, if someone's got a catastrophic bleed, the first thing that's going to kill them is loss of blood. You know that, but no one else could see that, because I'd look at him and, oh, your leg's a bit knackered, you know.
How did you feel, Frank, though? Because one of the things I felt after being blown up was I kind of just felt, apart from the initial kind of 10 minutes of shock where you're thinking, fuck, I've been blown up, the next half an hour for me was actually quite calm. You know, the guys were around me, patching me up, but apart from being in pain, I had this feeling of, you know what, I'm going to survive. This is going to be okay, because I had the trust and the faith in the guys around me. I mean, what was it like for you? Because you're surrounded by strangers.
And the flip side, or not the flip side, the follow on or the so what to this is, I fought like fuck to stay alive. I fought as hard as I could to stay alive. So when I woke up in the hospital the next morning, I was like, yes, I'm here. Oh, my leg's gone, but I'm here.
Yeah.
So it was and I often wonder if that set me on the course that I've been on. You know, you wake up and go down that road instead of that one.
Good point. Yeah. Yeah. No, I definitely remember just feeling confident that, you know, listen, the guys are there. The helicopter's going to be here in a minute. It's going to be cool. I'm going to survive. And
when the ambulance came, and they actually, the first responder turned up first of all. You know, do an amazing job. The bloke got out, and I went, and I had a 9-liner ready in my head. A civilianised 9-liner is a Medi report. So if anyone's injured, you give a 9-liner, and there's 9 points on it that the responders need to know. So I had a civilianised 9-liner in my head ready, and the first responder came. And that's the first time, because there was you saw the blue lights. It was on the other side of the carriageway, and it was going. And said, "It's an ambulance. It's the police." And someone said, "No, it's the first responder." And I saw the blue lights go the other way, and I went, "Right, it's about 3 minutes. I think the junction's about 3 minutes that way. So 6 minutes." That's the first time where I thought, I might make this. I might get out of this alive. The first responder pulled up. So imagine the relief. And he gets out of the car, and I went, right, I've got a catastrophic bleed right leg. And he went, whoa, whoa, whoa. He goes, I've got to put my luminous vest on first. I shit you not. I went, really? So he puts it on. I'm like that. Then he goes, right. And I went, right, I've got to do a triage. I went, fucking look, there's a catastrophic bleed in front of you. Just get a tourniquet on it. And I was the only person injured, actually. The car that smashed in, the bloke got away with cuts and bruises.
Jesus.
I was like that. And then he put the tourniquet over my jeans. And then you know that you put it next to the skin, don't you? You cut all the material away, tourniquet goes off. And then he went off somewhere, and the bloke who was on my leg, like the bloke who was stood on me groin, he went to go, I went, you're going nowhere, mate. Stay on there. I don't trust this fucking idiot. Anyway. I was like, oh, fucking hell. Mr. Magoo's turned up. But then when the ambulance turned up, and the guys like cut everything away and they got 2 tourniquets on, that's when I went, and I knew that I was going to live. I knew the only thing wrong with me was from the knees down.
Yeah. And
I knew that I needed blood. And then the pain kicked in. I was like that, oh no. And I said to them, I was like, lads, give me morphine. And they went, we can't, you've lost too much blood. So they flew in, a helicopter came, because they couldn't move me. I'd lost that much blood. When I say I was on the knife edge, they told me that I'd lost over half my body's blood. And people die approaching that point. I'd gone beyond that. So I was way, way into the red. So they flew blood plasma in. got me in the back of the helicopter, like gave me an infusion. I think it was platelets, or it was a blood substitute just to keep me going. And last thing I could remember was the doctor in the helicopter, like the paramedic. He said, and the paramedic who was in the parachute regiment, he came up to me. He says, "Lee, we're going to give you something better than morphine. It's called ketamine." And they gave it to me. And I remember laying back, and I said to the doctor was there. This is in the back of the helicopter, and I went, "Was it the helicopter or the ambulance? Can't remember." And I went, "Do you know what? This ketamine's amazing, because I want to say that I met you yesterday in Romford Market, but I know that ain't true." That's the last thing off, then bang out. Then I woke up in hospital.
How long was it the kind of civvy hospital then before you got kind of integrated again with the military injured kind of lads again?
6 weeks. I was 6 weeks in St George's Hospital. My wife rang another scouse, and do you know Jamie Haywood, bootneck? He sort of done my job as well. But my wife rang Jamie and told him, and he rang the unit I was at, DHU, and the RSM from the unit, he was there like about 7 o'clock in the morning. So he was at the hospital with Claire. Claire turned up with my mate Bondi. And then the military thing just kicked in. Then the Corps had sent someone down later that day. And the RSM, Mick Thompson is called, he turned around to Claire and said, "Book yourself in just go book yourself in the nearest hotel you can. Don't worry about anything. We'll pay. We'll pay for everything." And when I say that I benefited coming at the end of all the other guys that had gone through Afghan. The system was so slick. It was unreal. Everything, every single thing we needed, sort of kicked into place. It was amazing.
Yeah, it is good to know that you know, just because of lads getting injured, that kind of process is really.
I know I'm lucky, mate. I'm lucky.
So, what did you find when you first kind of went to Headley Court then, and you go from being this bootneck to now you're surrounded by the likes of Kayla, who's got no legs and has just come back from the Atlantic. You know, what was that transition like to kind of then starting to want to challenge yourself?
Yeah, you know, like the accommodations at the bottom of the hill, and there's like this ramp that goes up, that zigzags up the hill, and they've got like they call it the spaz buzz, where it's like a little bus that comes down. I think it's like a golf cart in it that pulls like a trolley, and all the people get in it who can't walk and get taken up there. And there was this big South African lad, army lad, and I was in my wheelchair and I was waiting for the spaz bus. And he goes, "What are you doing?" I goes, "I'm getting the bus. I've got like an appointment up at in the gym up the hill." He went, "Never get in the spaz bus." I went, "Jen?" He went, "Yeah, never get in the spaz bus." I was like, "Oh, okay." I ended up like, you'd have to leave about 20 minutes before each appointment to wheel yourself slowly up this sodding hill. But it was like, you're surrounded by people like that, you know. So even laying back and going, "Oh, you know, I'm injured," or you just can't do it. And then you got a bloke in the bed opposite you who's just rode the Atlantic. You're like, yeah, I've got to get on with this.
An amazing place, isn't it?
I'll say one thing though. This is Jen, absolutely Jen. Genuine, that means. Is my physio was called Joy. And she was the chief physio there. She was the most experienced physio in the military. She was a civilian, but like she first treated amputees from the Hyde Park bombing, you know, way back in, when was that, in the 80s? She said to me, and this was after about just a year. So it's just after a year, I had a physio with her, and she was reviewing me. And she goes, "You're about 6 months ahead of where we expect you to be at this point." I went, "Really?" And she went, "Yeah, but that's normal for bootnecks." Honestly, she said that to me. was like, really? There's that much of a difference? She went, yeah. So there is, a lot of people ask you about, and you probably talk about it, about mindset and overcoming adversity. And there is something, there's obviously something that they do in training that makes us different, Andy. And I genuinely don't know what it is.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I think, yeah, you just look at some of the guys and what they've went on to achieve and stuff, then it paints to that, what you're saying, that there is something a bit different, because, yeah, the amount of lads who are doing just extraordinary things despite missing parts of the body, it is just absolutely amazing.
Do you think it's just that, like, that persistence and that not giving up through that training period and onwards that...
I've genuinely tried to think what it is, and I don't know what it is. There isn't one single thing. There's not a lesson that they give you in training and says, like, this is how you're going to be from now on. I don't know. I genuinely don't know what it is. But Joy said that. Joy was the most experienced.
There's also a negative to that, though, because it makes me think now. I've joked about it with Tom. When I see people raising money for charity and they're saying, I want to run a half marathon, will you give me some money? I'm like, well, are you running it with the fridge on your back, or are you running it backwards, blindfolded?
Give me something.
See that bloke, Lord Disney? I don't know what his actual name is. He's called Lord Disney. He's a bootleg, and he decided, he's going to run from Land's End to John O'Groats. You're like, yeah, big deal. Lots of people have done that. But he'd done it with a Concept 2 rower on his back, and then would climb up mountains with his Concept 2 rower, and then do some rowing on top of the mountain. You're like, who even thinks of that?
I think he rode, so he took a row machine up, like Ben Nevis, for example, and if Ben Nevis was 1,200 metres high, I think he rode something like 1,200 metres. He done
on the summit, yeah.
He done something crazy anyway. It was fucking mental what he done.
Yeah. But it's like being an average bootleg, Andy, isn't it? All you can ever want to be is an average bootleg. And like, I've got 4 Guinness World Records, right? I rode across the Atlantic on my own. Kind of think I'm a bit of a big deal until you meet another bootleg. We've done it blind. And you're like, what do I have to do? What do I have to do?
How did that all come about then, Frank? How did, like, the time period from when from leaving rehabilitation to deciding to row across the Atlantic?
It kind of, I answered an email, same email Andy got, just asking for volunteers to put together the first all amputee crew. And you have to go back actually. 2008, I was in Afghan, I was in Lashkar, and I found a dog, a little puppy. It was caught between 2 wires. And I grabbed this puppy. I was on an operation. I was doing something. And so whenever anyone was on an op, the whole detachment would listen in on the radio because everybody's like ready to go out and move. And this bloke called Ed, he was watching me. He was sort of like on Overwatch, and he said, "Oh, there's a puppy there, Frank." And I went, "Where?" And he told me where it was. I sort of prized open this wire and grabbed this puppy. It was a tiny little thing, and it was half dead. I sort of ran back into the base, and the whole of the deck had turned up, like, because they were listening to that on the radio. I'm like, brilliant, we've got a deck, pet, we've got a dog. And I got lumbered looking after this dog. And then you become attached to it, don't you? And my cousin sent me a link to this charity called Nowzad Dogs. And it was a bootleg called Penny Farthing. And he was kind of rescuing dogs that lads sort of adopted out in Afghan and Iraq. And I put this dog in a taxi, like the old jingly taxis. It's kind of like a portable shed with bells and everything, pulled behind a motorbike, and we call them jingly taxis. I put this puppy in a jingly taxi in Lashkar, and it went to Kandahar, where the charity took over and brought this dog back, and it became our pet dog. Well, so what? I asked penny farthing. I was like, right, you know, do I have to pay any money to this? Or he went, no, the charity covers it. He goes, if you can do some fundraising for us, that'd be brilliant. So I organised a couple of fundraising things. And the first one I'd done was a sportif on a bike. And I thought, I really enjoyed that. And then I sort of organised one myself where I ran from, you know, Oakhampton Battle Camp on Dartmoor. I ran from there to my local pub on Boxing Day. Or was it Boxing Day? No, Christmas Eve. And there was a massive dump of snow. And it took me like 7.5 hours. I was across the top of the moor. I was wading through knee-deep snow. It was horrific. But I got into like doing charity things. And then I sort of made the Royal Marines charity. It was my charity of choice. And started organising things for them. And 6 months before I lost my leg, there was a lad called Dom Lovett. His dad was a bootleg. I actually served with his dad a couple of times. And his son, Dom.
I was training with Dom.
Did you?
Mm.
Yeah, well, he got pissed up in Norway and dived into a snowdrift. And there was a big rock in it. And he broke his neck from the, so he was paralysed literally from the neck down, although he had some kind of movement in his arms, but it was really vague movement. But he lived in Horrobridge, where I live now. And like Horrobridge was the married quarters for 4-2, like 4-2 Commando. That's how I moved in it, first of all. So there's loads of ex-bootlegs who live in the village. And we all got together. And I'd done a double marathon. So I ran from my local pub to Oakhampton and then ran back, turned around and ran back. So I ran 52 miles over the moor to raise money for Dom. So when I lost my leg, I was already sort of into doing daft things for charity. So I just carried on. My first mile I walked on my prosthetic. I'd done for the Royal Marines charity, and I sort of set myself a goal of raising £10,000 for the Royal Marines charity in my first year being disabled. So when I got the email from Paddy Nicol, who was running Road to Recovery, asking for volunteers, it was absolutely the next logical thing to do. I'd met Cal, who had rowed previously. He rowed with a crew of 2 amputees and 2 able-bodied, and he was going to skipper this row as being the first disabled, a fully disabled boat to go across. It was literally just a very logical thing for me to do. That makes sense.
Mm.
And obviously that first row, completing it, being the first amputee team to do it, it's, you know, hard and horrific as it must have been on times. It can't have been that bad because you wanted to do it again all on your own.
Again, it just seemed like a logical. I saw an opportunity. I was still in, so I was still getting paid by Her Majesty. And I'd come to the end of my rehabilitation, so I weren't going to get any better. So I thought I had about a year, maybe 18 months, where I was still getting paid and I could work on something full time. I just rowed across the Atlantic, and there was the do you know Baz Gray? He was RSM at HQ 6. He's a good mate of mine. I went to his top table, and it was on what was Nelson on? What boat was Nelson on?
I'm not too clued up.
Oh, how do you not know this? It was Battle of Trafalgar. What was it? HMS.
Do you want me to find out?
No, because I'm going to get it. I could picture it.
I've got no idea.
How do you not know what boat?
HMS Victory.
Yeah, Victory. Oh, HMS Victory.
I'm civvy now, mate. All that's gone now, mate.
It's obviously dropping out of my head. Well, HMS Victory, it's still in Portsmouth, and it's still the flagship of the Royal Navy, and it's still got a working sergeant's mess. So you can, as a bootneck, have your top table, which is like your leaving dinner on it. but you can only have a few people there. And I was honoured enough and lucky enough to get invited to Baz Gray's top table that he had on HMS Victory, and he had his old CO, who was now the governor of Gibraltar, who was General Ed Davies. He was also there, and we got chatting. And he said, like, "What are you up to now?" And I said, "So I'm thinking about rowing like solo on my own this time." And he went, "Why don't you go from Gibraltar?" Because he was the governor of Gibraltar. And he goes, "We'll make a massive fuss of you there." And I thought, why would I do that? Why would I add? Because classically, rowing the Atlantic is going from the Canaries across the Caribbean.
Yeah.
And I thought about it, and I thought, well, actually, if I go from mainland Europe to mainland South America, mainland to mainland, not island to island, there was a record set by a Norwegian in 2002 called Steinhoff. 3 people in history have done it solo, mainland to mainland. And he was the fastest, and he'd done it in 2002, and it was 96 days. And I went, I could get a record here. If I beat the able-bodied record. And I was also thinking about where I thought that the person who I was had gone, and ran the Atlantic, I kind of realised I was still the same person. That made me think about how in society we define disabled people by their disability. Not all the time, but we tend to. And that's where I got the idea about rowing. If I could beat an able-bodied record as a disabled person in something as physically demanding as rowing an ocean on your own, then that will send a massive statement that no one should be defined by disability. So it was a combination of that plus getting drunk with the governor of Gibraltar that kind of gave me the idea for doing the second boat.
And what was the differences then between doing it? Obviously, the obvious differences of doing it on your own versus having a team that with 3 other people that
our team broke down quite early on for a number of reasons.
And is that usual under something so tough as?
Yeah, I'd say of everyone I know who's rowed as a team, over half those people never speak to each other for a long period afterwards.
Yeah. I think there's a bit of a veil of secrecy though, because when you see people doing it, you just assume, oh wow, what a successful team, they all got on.
Because Andy was part of it, but you went off to climb mountains instead, so you took yourself out of it. And I rowed with Cal, that bloke who was in the hospital bed next to us. We rowed for 46 days, 2 hours on, 2 hours off. That was it. 2 hours on, 2 hours off. Never once put headphones in, never once listened to a podcast or audio book or anything. We chatted and laughed and joked the whole way across. Never once had a cross word. He's obviously a big part of my life, but we were rowing. We told you this quite a few times. We're like, fucking Andy, why did he drop out? Why did he here?
So what was the reason that the team kind of structure breaking down the first time?
Complicated as all these things are. I think the biggest problem is we weren't on the same mission. We hadn't sat down and said, what are we doing? Are we trying to break a record? Are we trying to win this race? Or are we just getting across, having a laugh? What is the point of us doing it? And we didn't have that. One guy broke down physically really quickly. He should never have been on the boat. And then broke down straight after he broke down physically, he broke down mentally. The other guy maybe should not have been, was not in the mentally right place to do something like that, and broke down mentally.
What do you do though when people are breaking down and you're in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean and you're like, fucking pick up your oars and start rowing? I mean, how does that work?
And that's where I found actually the bloke who broke down mentally he didn't break down mentally. He wasn't in the right place mentally to do it. He heard me talking about him, and it had got to the point where me and Cal were just like that. So when we was rowing in the middle of the night, and he heard me, and he reacted to that with such maturity, and really made me realise what a selfish arsehole I'd been to let that build up in me and had that outburst with Cal. Because actually they were doing what they could. You know, they weren't arseholes. They just weren't physically or mentally able to do it. And I lacked the mental discipline and maturity. Actually, I didn't. I slipped up once. I'm being harsh on myself. I slipped up once, twice. So it's hard because you have to understand that they're not arseholes. They're not doing this because they just can't be bothered. They just got to the point where they can't give any more. One of them physically just couldn't, and the other guy mentally, you know.
Is that the thing then? Because you kind of basically, you and Carl had to do it on your own. Is that what gave you the confidence to think, I can actually do this on my own next time?
No, because I rowed. I was a bootleg on this, so obviously physically I was the strongest rower. But I had no idea on how we got across. I just got out, got on the horse and rowed. That's what I've done. I didn't navigate. I had no idea about the radio or anything. I had no idea. So actually it was a fairly big jump to do it on my own. I knew physically I could probably do it, or I had a shot at it, you know. But to give you like the record for going across the route that we done, something like 33 days was the record when we done it. The record that I was going to try and break was 96 days. Gives you an idea of the difference in what I was trying to do. The two completely different things. But the biggest jump wasn't the physical aspect, because it was going to be longer. I was going to be longer on the boat, and it's further. The biggest aspect was learning how to navigate and, you know, do everything that needs doing on the boat, fixing it. I'm the worst DIYer in the world. I'm anything like that.
I bet probably another thing is, you know, I can't imagine, obviously it's hard enough rowing across the Atlantic, but being in such a confined space with maybe some people that you're not getting along with must just be like, you can't get away from it. You know, maybe people aren't pulling their weight to some extent. That must have just been...
No, you can't say that. They were doing, and it's, I got that. They were doing what they could.
Yeah, so I didn't mean it to come across like that, but yeah.
No, but that's the answer to your question. It's having that understanding. Once you actually know that actually they're doing what they can do, and I'm doing what I can do, and you can't say, well, I'm quitting, I'm gone, or you can't say, you know, you're off. You can't. You're there, and you kind of, you've got to look. You got to look. I talk about this. This is one of the things I talk about. On my road, solo one, the last 2 weeks is the hardest thing I've ever done by a country mile. I hit the wall, and then, like, with 2 weeks to go, I had nothing left. And there's, because of the circumstances, I couldn't rest. I had to keep the same pace because of the currents going up and the way it was set up. I had to keep the same pace that I had been. And the way I'd done it, the way I got out and rowed and kept going, when I was absolutely I've never felt like it in my life. I hit the wall because I was physically exhausted. I had absolutely nothing left. Straight after that, I became mentally exhausted because the mental gymnastics I'd have to do to get out and row were so draining. And then I became emotionally exhausted. And the last 2 weeks of my row is just a big pit of hell. It's the worst thing I've ever gone through. The way I got through it, though, and the way I kept going, was understanding the reality of the situation, because no matter how I feel about it, it's not going to change the reality that I have to get out and run. Mm. And that's the same with that. It's understanding the reality of they're giving what they can give. We're giving what we can give. We can't change anything. There's nothing we can change. So if you understand, if you look at something and understand the truth, and do you know where this goes back to, Andy? You know, when I was in training, I absolutely scraped the PRC, potential recruit schools. Physically, I've never been a fit bloke. I've had to work really hard at just maintaining average bootneck fitness. But when I was in training, and this has always stuck with me, you get, you know, the people who are rapping, and they'd be quite strong. They were a lot fitter than me and doing a lot better than me, or I thought they were doing a lot better than me. And you're like, why are you going? Like, nah, it's not for me. And I knew that was a lie, because to actually get into training, my boy's just done it. He's in week 6 at the moment. So I was sort of reminded of it. To actually get to the start line, to get to Limpston and start training is a massive effort. Mm. So it's not like you've gone in and gone, oh yeah, I fancy being the Royal Marine, and then get in training and go, no, it's not what I wanted. You have to invest a lot of yourself to actually get to the start line. Mm. So to turn around and go, well, it's not what I wanted now, is a lie. Mm. I knew it was a lie. They knew it was a lie. But they could look themselves in the mirror and go, yeah, it's not for me. I could have done it, but it's just not what I want. I could never do that. I knew that if I left, I'd look myself in the mirror and go, you didn't cut it. You you gave up. And I think that's the trick to life. People lie to themselves, or they see things and they go, yeah, if I just do this, then that'll be okay. When I was rowing that last 2 weeks, the arguments I had with myself, where I think, if I just have an hour off, I'll be a lot stronger for that second hour. But I know that I'll never make that hour up. It's true, I will be a bit stronger, but I'm never going to make that up. So it's a lie. And I know it's a lie. But people do that, don't they? They lie to themselves. Mm. And I think that's, if you understand the truth, if you look at something, and if you can be honest with yourself, then the answer's always there. You know. And then it comes down to, am I strong enough to do this, or am I not? And if you can look yourself in the eye and go, do you know what? I took the easy option and I'm happy with that, then you're a better person than me. I've never been able to do that.
When you saying being honest with yourself, what was you scared at any point?
On the first row or second?
On the second, when you were alone.
Yeah, horribly so, mate. It's the worst thing in the world is when you're scared and on your own. I've been to war times. I've been in a lot trickier situations, but when you're scared and part of a team, it's completely different. When you're scared and on your own, it eats into every part of your being. I had to come up with a coping strategy. Genuinely had to sit down and think, I've got to find a way through this, because I'm not going to be able to complete this the way we're going. The weather was absolutely horrific, completely different to the first row. The first row, halfway through, we got hit by a hurricane. The first hurricane in the Atlantic in January for 78 years. Genuinely, I'm that lucky. But even the hurricane was nothing like the size of the waves on the hurricane were nowhere near as big. Like a hurricane's massive weather that comes through and it's gone. But these waves were built up for like months and months. You had like constant weather. So they built and built and built. And they were absolutely horrific, petrifying, absolutely petrifying. And it was the hardest thing about the row, apart from the last 2 weeks.
I can imagine just like in the middle of the night on your own, surrounded what seems like by nothingness and just pitch black and just bad weather must just be the most unbelievable.
You say surrounded by on your own, there were points where the closest human to me was in the International Space Station, which is bonkers, isn't it? A couple of 100 miles that way.
Yeah.
I always think, mate, like when, again, going back to when I got injured, you know, when I was in Afghanistan, I'm lying there and bleeding to death, and you know you're in shit street, but again, you're looking around and you think, I've got all my friends here, all the lads, they know what they're doing, and it's almost like if things got a bit too serious, you could go, okay, you know what, like that's it now, I'm done, you know, make this stop. Whereas when you're in the ocean in the middle of the Atlantic on your own and you're alone, it's not got that kind of thing of, okay, right, lads, I'm done now. Okay, give it a good go. Let's, you know,
come and help me.
Yeah. And that's what I think is just so bizarre, to think that there's no fallback. It's just like,
yeah, but you know that now. You're thinking about that now. That didn't cross my mind until I was out there. I'm genuinely that stupid.
Yeah, I just always think, like, even go into hospital, having like the operations that I've had since and stuff, you always got this warm, fuzzy feeling that I'm surrounded by the experts, I'm surrounded by surgeons, doctors, nurses, guys who know what they're doing. And I think I'm a real people person, and I just think that feeling of being alone. I always remember after you got back and I rang you to congratulate you and stuff, and you always said to me, and it was just so, it was the way you said it and the tone. I was in my car, you were on the speakerphone in the car, and you said, Andy, I've been scared tons of time in my life. I've been alone a lot of time in my life, but I've never quite been alone and scared, and it's the worst thing in the world.
Yeah,
and just the way that you said it, I thought, fucking hell, that's like, it sends shivers down me now, thinking just to be in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, alone, in the pitch black, waves hitting you.
Being alone, I thought it was the weakness of mine. I thought I was over-reliant on other people. I love being surrounded by people. I love talking to people. If I ever go for a walk on the moor on my own and I see something, I always wish that I had someone with me to share it with me. You know, I'm that sort of person. But I didn't struggle being on my own. I kind of quite liked it, which was a shock. I didn't think I'd be like that. But the fear was horrible. If the weather weren't as bad, I'd be talking about a completely different road. I wouldn't have got across as quick, so I did it did help me get across. But it was horrific. I'd give another 2 weeks on the boat for the weather to have been slightly better, because
Really?
it was horrible. It was absolutely horrible. I mean, just the helplessness of knowing that one wave and you're gone. Just that kind of, there's nothing you can do. Like when you're fighting, when you're in contact, it's your skills keeping you alive. You get that, you know, that chance thing, like stepping on something. You can't mitigate for that, so you forget about it. But actually not being in control, and your entire destiny in life is there on the next wave. It's horrific, absolutely horrific.
Did you feel different at the end having that such a long, because I presume it was the longest time you've ever been on your own. Did you feel yourself going a little bit crazy to some extent, or was it different like thought processes? I only asked that because no, right, dead easy.
No, because I get asked a lot, what did you learn? What did you learn about yourself, about the row? And the only thing I learned was I have fucking stupid ideas. They weren't like, the first row changed my life. It reconnected me with the person that I was, that I thought I'd lost. Your second row, I just, no, I don't know. There weren't a life-defining moment, you know. There weren't.
I think the Discovery Channel did I can't remember the guy who did it, but he was on his own for, I think, nearly a year, and he took a video camera, and some of what he went through and everything is used in psychology now, and all sorts of stuff of how important human interaction is for humans, and how important it is for us both to be talking and that sort of thing. So I thought,
but you need to shut yourself off for a year to know that.
Well, exactly. Yeah, that's a good point.
I kind of knew that.
What do you think then, Frank, with all this, lockdown going on now, people in, isolation? What are you do you have any words of wisdom or advice then for anyone who's struggling?
Well, I have actually, because I probably have got a bit of a perspective on it, and the first thing we would know to do with anything that's not pleasant is you get yourself into a routine. And the one thing that I learned from the row is actually, and what we just said, talking to other people is so important. So have as your routine daily, you're going to ring this person, you're going to ring that person. It might be a friend, it might be a member of your family, but have that as part of your daily routine. So once you get into a routine, then things become easier, and you need things to look forward to. I needed morale. I had morale Wednesday, I had morale Saturday, and then quite early on I realised that I couldn't wait 7 days to have morale. So I had morale Wednesday and morale Saturday. So I changed my pants on a Wednesday and a Saturday. And I'd look forward to that, even the stupidest thing. And I saved up at the start all my favourite foods and everything like that for a Saturday and a Wednesday. But I had to change that because one of the coping strategy I used for the fear was I used distraction. So I'd save up everything. So if I was listening to a podcast and it got to an interesting bit, or a audio book, when you get to the page turner at the end, I would stop and I would save, or any decent scran food, anything that I'd been looking forward to. I saved that for when the fear.
Takes a lot of discipline, that.
Yeah, but I saved it for when the fear was unbearable, and then I would use it, and that would distract my mind away from what was going on out the cabin, and that took the edge off it. So my point being, having something to look forward to is really important. I had to change that because of the fear. But before then, I still changed my pants on a Saturday and a Wednesday. So set yourself, say, I'm hungover. We had a conversation earlier before we came on this, because Saturday is my day for having a bit of a blowout since we've been in lockdown. So that's what I look forward to. So saving things up and setting a day and having something to look forward to is really important. Otherwise, it's just day of misery after day of misery after day of misery. Mm-hmm. The third thing is, on my boat, when I was rowing, I thought, I'm going to improve myself. I'm going to use this as an opportunity to improve myself. And I thought I was going to learn Spanish. So I downloaded a whole load of Spanish lessons. But I downloaded the advanced Spanish lessons by accident. So everything was in Spanish. So I was just listening to a Spanish bloke talking Spanish. So that didn't work out. But I also downloaded a load of podcasts. And one of them was In Our Time with Melvin Bragg on Radio 4. It's probably really, really boring. But what they do is they'll take a subject and they'll get a load of experts in. It'll be anything from astrophysics to some obscure French painter and his life, and they'll talk about whatever it is. And I used that to improve myself. I thought, right, I want to know about that. I've heard of Joan of Arc was one of them. I don't know what the reality of Joan, so I'd learn about it. So use the opportunity to improve yourself, to become a better person, become more knowledgeable, learn a language, break your record for keepy uppies if you've got a garden. I don't know, whatever, get fitter. Use this as an opportunity to do something that you wouldn't have been able to do otherwise. So there's my 3 tips are get into a routine, have something to look forward to, even if it's a Saturday booze up or changing your pants on a Wednesday, and try to use it as an opportunity to do something that you wouldn't be able to do and better yourself, learn a language or something like that.
I think the routine is so important as well. I know, like, so many people struggle, don't they, when they come out of the military, or even when people retire, they struggle with keeping that up.
It's not a self-discipline thing. It's like doing things that you want to do or you've got to do. You're going to do anyway, but doing it at a set time. That's the only difference. So, like 10 o'clock, I'll ring my friend Andy. I'm going to ring him today anyway, or I'm going to ring me mum, but do it at a set time. I've got to take some meds. I'm going to take them at these times. Just get yourself into a routine. I'm watching a box set. I'm watching Narcos at the moment on Netflix. I'm going to watch that at a set time. I'm going to watch it at 3 o'clock. That's going to be my time for doing it. It's easy. It's not a self-discipline thing. It's just rearranging what you're going to do anyway.
Yeah, you need to watch Tiger King as well on Netflix.
My daughter's watching it. She's been going on about
it. It's mental.
So I'm interested to know then as well, but you've already achieved so much with the 2 rows, which is unbelievable. What 4 world records you've got? Has this time now though made you think more family time, more chill out time, more frank time, or are you?
Frank time, yeah, definitely. That was a conversation me and my wife have had. It's what am I doing things for, and that's important. My family and my boy's self-isolating around his girlfriends. He's in the Corps. He's at week 6 at the moment. My daughter, she's in the last year of her. She's a nurse. And they're getting their last placement has been scrapped, and they're getting called up. So her last part of her training is actually going to be working on the front line. She's a mental health nurse. So both our kids are adults and flown the nest. So it's just me and the missus, really, and it's just in doing things we enjoy. I'm lucky enough to have a big garden, and all my life, all I've ever wanted is an open fire or a log burner, and we've got one in the house. So chopping wood is like a therapy for me. We had people over the back. We've got a couple of big trees in our garden. And the people over the back, it was blocking their sky. And they knocked round. They gave us a knock and said, do you mind if we? I was like, mate, dig out, but can I have the wood? So they cut down a couple of big trees, so I've just got a massive pile of logs that I'm chopping up, really enjoying it. And I've been looking at that pile of logs thinking, I need to do that, and knowing how much I want to do it. But as I said earlier, like in the last year, I've had less than 7 days to myself. It's changed the way, totally changed the way I'm going to go ahead with my life. I'm not doing that again.
It's so interesting hearing you say that, mate, because it wasn't a kind of corona lockdown that made me realise it was. I had a breakdown with my little girl's mum and stuff, and things were going on and stuff, and I had that moment which I think you've kind of got now. And sometimes now when I'm asked at the end of my talks, people say, Andy, you've climbed this mountain, you've ran this, you've done this, what's next? I feel like saying, I just want to be a good dad. I just want to be at home with my dog and go to the gym and just have a normal life. And I think people are expecting me to say, I'm going to go and climb Mount Everest, and I'm going to go and do a Frank Spencer around the Atlantic. And I go, you know what? I just want to chill out and just.
I'm still going to take the advantages that come, or the opportunities that come. Like I'm doing the Amazon. That's been postponed. I was gonna in August, part of a team of 10 kayak in the Amazon.
Wow.
That's like a trip of a lifetime. And I set myself, and so this kind of borders what we're talking about, and being something for myself is I'm a triathlon of Great Britain. I had this idea within a week of losing my leg, so it feels like I'm ticking it off me to-do list, but I still want to do it, and it's and it's the next personal not adventure thing that I want to do, and that's it's a triathlon like any other triathlon. So there's a swim, cycle, and a run. Although I can't run because of my left leg was so badly knackered. So the swim is I'm going to swim the channel and then cycle Land's End to John O'Groats, but go via Snowdon and Scarfell Pike, and then do a marathon over Ben Nevis, finishing at the Speedbridge Memorial. It's about, with a bit of tweaking on the route, it's about 12,000 miles with the swim, the cycle, and the 3 mountains. And I'm going to try and do it in 10 days. So that's what I'm working towards.
120 miles a day, yeah.
Yeah, well, it's not going to be that, because the 20 is the I want to do it because it's a worthwhile thing to do. I want to continue keeping the crux to the row was the not defined by disability. But behind that, it was keeping wounded, injured servicemen in the nation's conscience. You've seen it, Andy, in the last 10 years, how military charities have gone from being the forefront of people's minds to people not really caring or not really understanding. But and we know bootnecks who need that help. Not now, but they'll need it for the rest of their lives. And
it happened just last week with the poor soldier. She was killed in Afghanistan, and
no one cared.
No one, because of this corona stuff, no one even batted an eyelid off it. Yeah. You know, it's important that, I know you're doing it for personal kind of experience as well and personal growth, but you are sending a huge message out to not just disabled people, but also veterans as well, that, you know, there is life out there to be.
It's a worthwhile thing to do. It's a worthwhile thing to try. It gives me something to work towards. And it's a massive tick off, because I genuinely had the idea to do it in the first week of losing my leg. And it's it feels like I'm ticking it off a to-do list, which is important in its own right. But going back to what we were saying, sorry Andy, going back to what we were saying, it's the stuff in between that I don't need to do. That's gone. That's what's changed now.
From a personal point of view, one thing I've struggled with, and it's probably maybe losing that drive. I wouldn't say I'm not driven anymore, but it's kind of almost finding a purpose again. I mean, it sounds like you've got it with your triathlon idea, but sometimes I look at my life now and I think, well, I had the best job in the world as a Marine, so kind of I was great. I do the motivational speaking, that's great. But when I look down to the nitty and gritty, I think as a motivational speaker, I've been flown over to the States, I've been flown to China, me and you were lucky enough to speak to the England football team just on the brink of the World Cup. As far as
you tell people that I tell people I'm the reason we got to the semi-final.
Oh yeah, do that. Yeah.
if they'd have listened in, we might have won.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, my day rate would have went through the roof if we'd won that World Cup. But yeah, you know, with regards to being a motivational speaker, someone said to me, you know, what are the 3 big talks you'd love to do? I'd say, you know, getting flown abroad, you know, and lucky enough, Nike flew me to China. Doing a talk for the England football team on the brink of a World Cup, done that. And I was lucky enough to speak in the...
You didn't eat bat, did you? Deep fried bat in China.
Yeah, no, this was before Corona, don't worry. And I was lucky enough to do a talk for Remembrance Day in Liverpool Town Hall in front of 20,000 people. So I feel like with the speaking, it's like I've done everything I could possibly want to do. With the running stuff, you know, I've ran a 10K in, you know, 6-minute mile pace, which is better than most able-bodied people. I feel like I've ticked that box, and I feel like it gets to a point where it's like it's hard to find that something that's gonna give you that desire and that fire to really, you know.
Here's the thing, Andy, right? You know how great you are, yeah? And what I mean by that is, you know, your internet browsing history. You can't hide from yourself. I know what an arsehole I am. I know I can be selfish. I know exactly what I am. When you do what we do, which is stand up and tell people an inspiring story, people then come up to you and say, oh, you're so amazing, you're so great, blah, blah, blah. But you know you're not. Yeah? You know what you're really like. And it's squaring that, which is hard, isn't it? Right? There's 2 ways you can do it. 3 ways, actually. You can start believing it, but that leads to lunacy. You can throw it away, be arrogant, and say, no, I'm not. But that's, people are just being nice when they say it to you. You can't. So actually, there is only one logical way you can deal with it, and that's to say, thank you very much, you're being very kind, and let it go over your head and not listen to a word. Just let it go over your head. What? When you talk in schools, though, when you see those kids and you see them and you see it in their eyes and you change their lives a little bit, no one else gets to do that, do they? Not even their teachers. They can't do what you do and go in and give those kids that hope, little bit of belief. For me, that's all this nonsense, the talks that you do, talks that I do, they're brilliant. They're great experiences, and they're a part of this tapestry of life that we're lucky enough to have. But they're not what get you out of bed. What gets you out of bed is seeing that look in that kid's eyes and knowing that you've done something positive today, and the world is a tiny bit better because of something you've done. And if that isn't a goal, then
yeah, no, you're right. And I think this Corona lockdown has made me realise how much I do miss doing the motivational speaking, especially in schools. It's just when I meant like that, you made a great point, and that is a huge kind of an amazing thing that you get from it.
That, for me, mate, the triathlon of Great Britain is a big thing. I can tick it off. I've done that. I've always wanted, since I was a kid, wanted to swim the Channel. I don't know where it came from. So I'll do that, but it's worthless and pointless next to, like, the
impact you're having on people.
Yeah, talking in schools for me is everything. Is absolutely everything, and it's the stupid things I do: rowing the Atlantic, kayaking the Amazon, the triathlon. They're just a means to an end. They enable you to stand up. And they're the reason the kids listen to you and not a teacher. That's the only thing they give you.
No, it's true, yeah, mate. And again, I always feel, again, what we spoke about at the start about being a Marine and stuff, and your experiences and the friends that you've got. I always sometimes think that I don't give the likes of you and lads we know the kind of credit they deserve, and it's not through anything. It's just because it's so normal to me that I've got, oh yeah, if someone talks about something, it's like, oh yeah, I've got a mate who's done that, and and he's only got one leg, and it's something.
Take it for granted.
Take it for granted how many. I take it for granted how many cool people I'm able to call my friend. Do you know what I mean? I spoke to Tom, and I'm like, yeah, we've got Frank coming on, he's done this, and I'm almost underplaying what you've done. I'm just like, oh yeah, he's done this, he's done that. And
but we know, but we know it's just opportunities, though, Andy, isn't it? Yeah. We know that. I'm the most ungifted person. There's a really good podcast. If you're not listening to it, it's Behind Closed Doors. It's Gary Lineker and
Danny Baker. Yeah.
I wrote them a letter. I got my letter read out. And they said it's the best one they've ever read. And the letter was basically about football's always been my thing. I'm an Arsenal fan, and I've loved football. I've played it all my life, but I've been absolutely awful at it. Been absolutely crap. I played in a Sunday league team in Dagenham before I joined the Corps. I played for 4 seasons as centre forward. I scored 2 goals in 4 seasons, half a goal a season, right? And then I played in a local team, the next village along, Buckland, and we lost 17-0 to a team. But by then, I was in defence. I've been relegated to defence, right? And the next week, they put me as sub, and I thought, well, I could be sub. I could play for a team that loses 17-0, sorry, but I can't be sub. That's how awful at football I am. But recently, they've started a walking football team in the village.
I've seen that in Liverpool. They do that in here in Liverpool, yeah.
Oh, mate, I play, right? And I score most goals, most games I'll score. In my first game, training game it was, I scored a hat-trick. I scored 2 goals as a centre forward with 2 legs. I'm the only person to get better at football, having lost a leg.
Lost a leg, yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, that's the letter they wrote out. My point of telling you that is I'm crap at everything. When I said I scraped with potential recruits calls, I absolutely mean it. I remember, you do first thing you used to do was a USMC test, and part of the USMC test was how many press-ups you could do in 2 minutes, and the maximum score was 60. And I thought I could do 60 press-ups. I could do 60 press-ups. When I actually done a proper press-up from there to there to there with someone counting it, so you had to go hit their fist. I was like, the first one I done, I was like that. Oh Christ, I'm going to struggle here. I think I've done something like 38 press-ups. That was all. I passed everything by 1 or 2 press-ups or seconds. My point is that I'm crap at everything I've done. Everything I've ever done, I've been crap at it. The only thing I'm good at is keeping going. Picking myself up when I fail and keep going. So when you talk about all these great achievements and everything, all right, 4 Guinness World Records, I know how crap I am. So they're nice, but they don't take away the fact that I know how shit at everything I am. And I genuinely am. And that's not faux modesty, it's true.
Very humble, Frank.
No, but true, mate. It's true. I'm doing a book for Penguin at the moment, and I'm writing, and I remembered something, and I'm writing about how crap I was at sports as a kid, despite being mega into them. So it weren't even like I was like an academic kid and just weren't sporty. I've loved football all my life. I've just been shit at it. And the other thing I've always loved, I used to like running, cross-country running. I used to run when I was a kid. And in the selection for the cross-country team, do you know where I came? I remember this because as you come in, they'd give you a ticket. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Guess what ticket I got? 53. I came 53rd in my year group. That's how crap at everything I am. How physically gifted I am. And I know I am. And everything I've got and everything I've done is through circumstance. I was lucky enough to get the chance to row the first time. And having rowed, it gave me that introduction to the world of rowing and gave me the idea that I could do it on my own. It's so everything I've got and everything the reason I'm here talking to you now, I know that it's just through circumstance. It's just a bizarre set. It's mad how it happened. I know it is, but it's true.
It's so good the way you as well. You just keep going. That's it. I suppose it's such a good. You know, thought. You know, for everyone really is you don't have to be, like you say, talented. It's just literally just keep going and don't give up.
But yeah, that's exactly it. And actually being crap at things as a kid made me good at failing, and made me good at just picking myself and going again. We've got a friend. I won't use his name, but me and Andy have got a friend. He was a really, really gifted footballer, and he became a bootneck, and then went on, and he lost his leg, and he was struggling a couple of years ago, and we were talking. We was in Norway actually. We was talking, and it was like, mate, you've never been rubbish at anything, have you? You've always been good and gifted at everything you've done, and now because of your leg, you're a bit crap at stuff. It goes, it's you're not used to it, and it's true. Being crap at everything growing up has made me absolutely, like, when I am crap at stuff now, I'm used to it, and I can't find it easy. I find being mediocre really easy. That's the trick in life. If you can do that, you can do anything.
Yeah.
If anyone thinks that they're crap at something, and hopefully they can go and smash a few world records as well. Anyway,
Well, anyone who thinks they're crap at anything, I'll black cat them and tell them how much crapper I was. You hear the doorbell going then?
Yeah, you've got a brisket as well, haven't you?
Yeah, I'm smoking at the moment. I've got. You can't see it. Just when we're in our conservatory, I've got a wood-fired pizza oven, a barbecue, and a smoker all next to each other.
That sounds brilliant.
And I've got a big bit of brisket that's being smoked at the moment. And if you'll excuse me, I've been thinking about this. Rory, I'm going to get someone to put. It needs a bit of wood going on it to keep it going.
Yeah.
Rory. Oh, he can't hear me. Oh, he's coming. I'm a bootneck. My boy's in training, and my daughter's trapping a bootneck as well. So we've got very much of. Mate, do us a favour. You know those bits of cherry wood that are in the water? Can you stick, if you open up the bottom bit of the cabinet,
Brisket 101 masterclass.
You can just lift up. You'll see like there's a tray with a bit. Lift the lid up, stick another bit of wood in there.
Yeah.
First, and then close it up. There's a bit of wood.
Leave it open.
No, close it up. Just so to get it smoking. And cheers for doing the water.
No worries.
Yeah, how long have we been going for now, Tom? Anyway,
2 hours.
Yeah.
Is that the longest one ever? Is it?
I think the longest one ever is just shy of 3 hours. Actually, it might just be over 3 hours. It was a hostage negotiator.
Yeah.
Really? Who was that?
What's his name? Names escape me. I'll tell you right now.
He weren't in the army, was he?
No, he was in the police.
I know a hostage negotiator in the police who was in the army. I'm trying to think of his name.
No, this guy was a priest before he joined.
What's his name?
The bloke I know is called Ollie. There can't be many hostage negotiators.
Steve Saunders. Sorry, I don't know why I forgot that, but Steve Saunders. Yeah, it was fascinating. That was about 4 months ago now, 4 or 5 months ago.
Cool.
Probably longer than that actually. That was the longest. Yeah, but 2 hours is not bad.
Yeah.
But the job I used to do, you used to have to you get vetted, direct vetting, and you'd go in with a woman, and they'd say it doesn't matter what you've done as long as you tell us. And we used to time people how long they were in there. And I used to work with a lot of intelligence corps guys, geeks, and they'd be in there about 10 minutes. All the bootnecks would be hours and hours and hours.
Would have loved to have done it face to face, mate. But as times, mate, I appreciate your the setup and all that, mate.
Still, yeah, we've got an ambition together to do Kilimanjaro, haven't we?
Definitely, man. Yeah, I love the mountains. So when all this crazy stuff, and you've took enough time off to look after that wife of yours as well, and we'll get planning.
Come down and stay, mate. Bring the nipper.
Yeah,
come down and have pizzas.
Yeah,
Andy, do you fancy being part of this triathlon?
I love the way he puts me on the spot. Like
I know, yeah, this is good now.
Come and do whatever you want. Be part of it.
Yeah, I'll let you do the planning. I might just jump in now and again.
Yeah, no. The swim I've got to do on my own. So under the rules of the Channel Swimming Association, they're really, really particular. Got to do it in speedos and a swimming cap. Like I need a swimming cap.
Keep me in the loop, but it all might be great to support it anyway I can and stuff.
July next year.
Okay, man. Listen, Frank, it's been amazing chatting, mate. And
yeah, good seeing you. Nice to meet you, Tom.
Yeah, likewise, mate. Yeah, virtual meet. Thank you so much. Yeah, really appreciate it as well. Thank you so much.
All right, cool.